Do you have a perfect marriage? No? Neither do I, even after 33 years. But I do have a marriage, and thankfully, I do have a perfect God. And He's told us in His Word what we can do to build up our marriages. So if that sounds good to you, join me today as we Bible mark marriage builders from Proverbs. So all we need is a Bible, and hopefully one with wide margins, because today we'll be doing a lot of writing in the margins. You'll also need a pen, one that won't bleed through the thin pages of your Bible. I'm using a Pigma Micron pen, size 01, and today I'm going with the color brown. The first thing we're going to do is list the title in the front of our Bible, in that blank page somewhere in the front of your Bible. And it is called Marriage Builders from Proverbs. So you'll write down the title right there. And then next to it, you'll put the first verse that we're going to go to, which is Proverbs 4, verses 23 through 27. Proverbs 4, verses 23 through 27. I'm also underlining the M and the B in Marriage Builders because as we go to each of the verses, I'm going to put MB next to the verses. This will probably be one of the easiest Bible marking exercises we do together because we're staying in the book of Proverbs for the whole thing. So let's turn over to Proverbs chapter 4. All right, in Proverbs chapter 4, we're going to circle that little number 23 and put MB next to it if you want. And again, as I always say, as we go through these verses, I'm just sharing with you how I marked them up because it makes sense to me. But your Bible is for your practical use, and you'll want to mark it up in a way that makes sense to you. The text reads, "Watch over your heart with all diligence, for from it flow the springs of life. Put away from you a deceitful mouth and put devious speech far from you. Let your eyes look directly ahead and let your gaze be fixed straight in front of you. Watch the path of your feet and all of your ways will be established. Do not turn to the right nor to the left. Turn your foot from evil." I am using the New American Standard. Some versions may read a little bit different. For instance, in that very first verse, watch over your heart, I think some versions say keep your heart or guard your heart. The first thing we're going to do is underline watch over your heart with all diligence. And then if you have room in the margin next to the word watch or keep or guard, however yours is worded, put what it literally means in the original language. It means to protect and preserve. Protect and preserve. So we're going to protect and preserve or guard our hearts with all diligence, for from it flow the springs of life. And then as your eyes skim down through the text, notice the different body parts that are mentioned and squiggly underline those body parts. We have the word mouth in verse 24, the word eyes in verse 25, and the word feet in verse 26. So this means that if we guard our heart, then my mouth won't say things I shouldn't be saying. My eyes won't be viewing things I have no business viewing, and my feet won't be taking me places that I don't belong. So we guard our hearts, and everything else follows. That's what it says in verse 26, and all your ways will be established. You might put a square around the word all. Now, in previous Bible marking exercises, I've explained that I typically circle the main thought of a topic. This particular study doesn't really have a word like that for us to circle. We're just going to be underlining the verses from here on in. At the end of verse 27, put the next verse we're going to go to, which is 10:19. 10:19. Okay, and then once you get over there, circle that number 19 and put MB next to it. When there are many words, transgression is unavoidable, but he who restrains his lips is wise. So go ahead and underline the entire verse. Transgression is sin. Have you ever talked yourself into a whole heap of trouble in your marriage? So right out of the gate, we're learning that a lot of marital strife can be avoided if we simply realize we don't have to say everything we think. We won't have to regret later on hurtful words or thoughtless words if we've never said them in the first place. So if you have room in the margin next to this verse, put, don't say everything you think. Don't say everything you think. And then at the end of the verse, put 11:13. 11:13. Once you get there, circle that number 13 and put MB next to it. He who goes about as a talebearer reveals secrets, but he who is trustworthy conceals a matter. So again, underline the entire verse. And if you have room in the margin, put protect your marriage. You're going to protect your marriage by not griping to your mom or your best friend every time you and your spouse get into an argument. Because later on, when you guys come around and make things right again, you're going to wish you hadn't brought it up to somebody else. When you get into an argument, don't always feel the need to go seek sympathy from somebody else. At the end of verse 13, put 14:29. 14:29. When you get there, circle that number 29 and put MB next to it. He who is slow to anger has great understanding, but he who is quick-tempered exalts folly. So again, underline the entire verse. If you have room in the margin next to it, put don't get angry over small things. Don't get angry over small things. Be patient. Be understanding. I hate to see a man act easygoing around everybody except his wife, and vice versa. So treat your spouse the way you want to be treated. At the end of verse 29, put 15:13. 15:13. Once you get there, circle that number 13 and put MB next to it. A joyful heart makes a cheerful face, but when the heart is sad, the spirit is broken. So underline the entire verse. Are you happy in your marriage? And if so, does your face reflect it? You might be like me and have one of those faces that just looks mad when it's, you're just thinking, you're just sitting there not thinking about your expression, and you look, if people are always asking you what's wrong, you probably have one of those kinds of faces. So in the margin, if you have room, next to this verse, put smile when you see your spouse. Smile when you see your spouse. Smile when they come in the door. Smile when they show up unexpectedly. Smile when you greet them. Let them know you're happy to see them. So underline the entire verse and put smile when you see your spouse. Joy keeps a marriage fresh, and it keeps the interest alive. At the end of the verse, put verse 17. We're actually staying in Proverbs 15, so all you have to do is put verse 17. And then when you get down to verse 17, circle that number 17 and put MB next to it. Better is a dish of vegetables where love is than a fattened ox served with hatred. So underline this entire verse, which is a contrast, and it's a reminder to us to prioritize relationship over things. That's what we're going to write in the margin next to that verse. Prioritize relationship over things. Here God is saying, keep your priorities straight. Don't spend more time improving the quality of the things around you than you do your own marriage. You probably can think of a couple who has very little, materialistically speaking, but they're happy together. You can see the fact that there's joy in their relationship. They're content with each other. You probably also know some couples who are very well off and they're miserable in their relationship. So keep the main thing the main thing. Prioritize your relationship over things. At the end of the verse, put 17:9. 17:9. When you get there, circle that number 9 and put MB next to it. He who conceals a transgression seeks love, but he who repeats a matter separates intimate friends. Underline the entire verse. Don't air your dirty laundry. Don't let indignation or frustration or hurt cause you to blab your spouse's sins or mistakes. Love protects and forgives. I know I don't want all of my bad choices made known to anyone else. If you have room in your margin next to that verse, put, don't air your dirty laundry. Don't air your dirty laundry. At the end of that verse, put verse 17. Verse 17. Then look down at number 17 and circle it and put MB next to it. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. So underline the entire verse. Think of all the things that can come in and strain your marriage. Financial problems, stress, job loss, long-term health problems. But as a couple, you can determine ahead of time that you're going to endure any hardship by staying close and leaning on God. So if you have room in the margin next to verse 17, put stay close through hardships. Stay close through hardships. And then at the end of the verse, put 1911. 1911. Once you get there, circle that number 11 and put MB next to it. A man's discretion makes him slow to anger, and it is his glory to overlook a transgression. So underline the entire verse. And if you have room in the margin next to that verse, write, don't be overly sensitive. Don't be overly sensitive. Don't take things personally. Don't get your feelings hurt easily. Your spouse is going to have less than stellar days because of work or doubt or stress. So give them the benefit of the doubt and extend some grace. Don't be overly sensitive. At the end of the verse, put 21:9. 21:9. Once you get there, circle that number 9 and put MB next to it. It is better to live in the corner of a roof than in a house shared with a contentious woman. If you have room in the margin next to the word contentious, write what it means, and that is to cause strife or discord. So if your home is one that's filled with strife, are you the cause? If you have room in the margin next to the verse, put go out of your way to promote harmony. Go out of your way to promote harmony. As women especially, we set the tone of the home. At the end of the verse, put verse 23. Verse 23, because we're staying in Proverbs chapter 21. When you get to verse 23, circle that number 23 and put MB next to it. He who guards his mouth and his tongue guards his soul from troubles. Underline the entire verse. And have you noticed how many of these verses we're looking at have to do with things that we say? A trouble-free marriage relies heavily on what we say and how we say them. You might be saying the right thing, but are you saying it in the right way? Or are you overly sarcastic? Are you quick to ridicule? Make sure the things that come out of your mouth are only things that are going to promote closeness and build up your spouse. So if you have room in the margin next to this verse, put watch what you say and how you say it. Watch what you say and how you say it. At the end of that verse, put 25:28. 25:28. Circle that verse number 28 and put MB next to it. Like a city that is broken into and without walls is a man who has no control over his spirit. So the walls are for protection around a city. A city without walls is exposed to the enemy. So if you do not have self-control, you are making your marriage vulnerable to the attacks of the enemy. If you have room in the margin next to it, write a lack of self-control makes your marriage vulnerable. If you have no control over your emotions, then you're leaving your marriage vulnerable. At the end of that verse, put the last one we're going to look at, which is 27:1. Chapter 27, verse 1. There's no one to circle, but you can put MB next to that first verse. Do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what a day may bring forth. Underline the entire verse. And then if you have room in the margin next to it, put treat each day as if it were your last. Treat each day as if it were your last. Make the most of the time you have together. Express your love and appreciation. Let go of the resentment, get over the past, and appreciate the present. And thank God for your marriage. Thank you for joining me today. May God bless your Bible study.